How's it going, guys? Today we're going to be removing our door panel off of our 300ZX. This is my 1986, but every single model year of the Z31 should be the same. I don't think I've seen any differences. And it's actually pretty simple, not too difficult. I am specifically going to be trying to take out my window glass and motor. I'll take you along with me there. Because now, for some reason, whenever I hit my window down button, I hear the motor going, but nothing happens with the glass. I can push the glass up and down when the motor is on, and it's stiff when it's not. But basically, I need to figure out why the motor is not connected to this anymore. So this is pretty much going to be the same thing for both sides. But we're going to go ahead and see what we can do. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is actually take out, there's 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's little plugs in these, if you can see. 3 of mine are missing. That's okay though. So we're going to go ahead and take out, these are Phillips heads in each of these. These are actually kind of difficult to get out without really messing them up. So if you have a plastic trim removal tool, it might help a little bit more than like a metal flat blade or something. But they're plugs basically, so they just fit in and they don't really lock. You just have to pull them out. So there's a little bit difficult to get out, but we'll go ahead and take out these 4 Phillips heads. Alright guys, so as you can see, we got the arm off. It is just those 4 bolts, and then this connector goes to the window switches. Basically just push in on the bottom, the tab on the bottom, and pull out. It's really easy. I didn't have any problem with mine coming out. And then you can see I just went ahead and set this piece of foam off to the side. Now right here we've got the entire rest of the door card. It's pretty simple from here. What we're going to go ahead and do is remove this Phillips head back here, and that'll just let this plastic surround come out. And then there's just push clips all around here in order to get it out. Super simple. My previous owner, he had some problems and he put a wood screw in, if you can see it. And so I got to remove that. But it should just be plastic clips. You can see like on this side the clips are broken, so the door panel just kind of flops. So yours might even already have all the plastic clips. That is a good thing to note if you're going to be doing this. You might want to buy some more plastic clips, and I'll try to give you a good visual of what clips you need to buy, because I don't exactly remember. I'm sure Nissan could tell you, or nissanpartsdeal.com. But anyways, we're going to go ahead, take that out, and then pop this out. And then it kind of like slots into the door up here, and so you have to push it up in order to get it off. But I'll see if I can video that for you guys. Alright, I wanted to show you guys real quick the little plastic clips. They're kind of like a tab that the door card slots onto, so it kind of like sits onto it, if I remember correctly. And then there's a couple of like push pins that you just push into these, boom, boom, boom. I don't think there's some there. 1, 2, and then more of these like slotted ones on the bottom. These are all from previous owners, those shouldn't be there. But yeah, these guys right here, those are the little plastic tabs. Alright, so you can see now the door panel is completely off. If you happen to be watching this video because your door handle broke and it no longer opens, maybe you bought an aluminum replacement from Past Power Parts, you can see I've got mine right here. It's really simple to take that out. All you have to do, this one Phillips head right here, and this entire module comes out. These hooks just kind of slot into it, so just pull it straight out and these hooks will come right off. And then on the back of that, you just kind of pop a plastic cover out, put the new one in, put the plastic cover back on, and bolt this back on, and you're all good. So now what I'm going to do is I need to get the actual window motor and everything out, and it is actually a little bit more of an involved process. So right here we have these 4 bolts. These are the motor. It's either the motor or the regulator, guys. I forget the difference between the two, but we need to go ahead and undo these 4, and they're a little bit difficult to get. And then what we're going to go ahead and see if we can do, it's a little bit difficult to see. At some point there is going to be a plastic piece that holds the actual glass to the track. I'll give you guys a good visual of that once we get to that point. But right now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm actually going to turn the car on and see if I can lower it just a tiny little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this up, bring it back over, plug it in, and then just kind of lower it a little bit because we want the glass to get down to about right here where we can see it. That's all I can really say. If your window doesn't roll up and down, I'm sure there's a manual way of doing it, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. So we're going to go ahead and just try to get the window glass down so where we can see it. And we're going to go ahead and do that before we undo these 4 bolts. Alright guys, so I went ahead and lowered the window a little bit. If you can see through this hole right here, we'll see if it'll focus. You may be able to see in there, there's a Phillips head. Right there. We're going to go ahead and undo that one. And then this hole right here, it's actually a little bit up on this one. But there's a very similar Phillips head on a rail. It's a little bit difficult to see. This side needs to go down a tiny little bit, but it's not too big of a deal. So what we also need to do is remove this right here and this right here. They're like bump stops to keep the window from going up past where it needs to be. So we're going to remove those because the window has to come up and out, and that'll hit that if it's there. What we also need to do, I left one bolt in here. This is the window motor. I took the 3 out, so 1, 2, 3. And I left 1 in just to kind of keep everything in place. But once we get everything unbolted, we should be able to drop the motor down and kind of lay it in the bottom here, and then lift the window glass up and out. But we do need to remove these here in order to get the glass to come up. Alright, so I undid the 2 Phillips heads through both of these holes, and the entire glass is now disconnected from the motor assembly. So it's slid all the way down. You want to be careful. You want to hold it while you're undoing it, and gently lower it to the bottom so you don't accidentally break it. Now the window glass is almost ready to come out. You can see this right here is one of our you can't see that, I apologize. See if we can get in here. Okay, you might be able to see this was one of our guide stops right here. Go ahead and pull that one out. We just don't want these to fall in. If they fall in, we can actually access it. There's a lot of room, but we want to go ahead and grab that. This one is a little more tricky because it's got window glass in the way. We'll go ahead and set that guy down. But what we can do is just very gently massage it out. I can't really do this with one hand, but you can push the glass a little bit, and it'll actually help you get it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that, and then we're going to lift the glass up and out. It follows along these tracks here. If you guys can see, it follows along these tracks. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just pull it straight up. It kind of comes at an angle, and then once it's up and out, we'll go ahead and set it down on something very soft so that we don't accidentally scratch it or accidentally break it. One quick tip I wanted to go ahead and give you guys real quick while we're in here. Right in here is your door latch. Of course, it's difficult to see. You have a door latch in here. You'll be able to see it when you get the door panel off. And right now is a great time to lube it. So I lubed mine. We'll go ahead and close this real quick. So basically, when you before it was really difficult for me to pull the handle up and it wouldn't come out, but now it just like pops. Like it wants to come out. It's beautiful. Compare that to like the other side over here. We'll go ahead, and this side is like, it just doesn't want to pop open. It'll just, you kind of have to pull it. But the other side, it just comes out. So this is a great time for you to lubricate it. You can try to spray it in here. It really doesn't do much. I've tried that before. So while the door panel is off, this is a great time to spray your latch mechanism. You can clean it down with like a brake clean first, and then spray the lube on it, and it'll work so much better. It's really a big noticeable difference. Also, while we're at it, the rails that the glass sits on, you guys can see these. This is a great time to lubricate it as well. I have already taken the glass out at the moment. You guys will see that in just a little bit. But basically, there's like 2 little stops that the glass slides along in order to guide. And these just get stuck over the years. It's got rubber on here to kind of keep it. And that rubber just gets old, it gets nasty, and it just does not want to slide very well. So lubrication is your friend. And it'll just make your life a lot easier. It'll make your window a lot happier, the motor, everything will just get a lot better. So I definitely recommend lubing everything while you're here. Alright guys, so you saw I got the window glass out. Now what we're going to go ahead and do, specifically for me, I'm going to try to figure out why my motor isn't working. So before I go ahead and completely remove this and drop everything down and see if I can shimmy it out through this hole, what I'm going to do is you can see I put 3 bolts back into it. You probably could get away with 2, like opposite corners, but what I'm going to do is I put those back, and then I also put these 2 nuts back on, so everything is where it should be. Just the problem is there's no glass in it right now, and we can go ahead and try to activate the motor, make it go up and down, and if it's going up and down, it means that it's probably something related to how it attaches to the glass. It's just not quite working well, but we're just going to do a little bit of troubleshooting. If I'm being honest, I've been trying to look in here and I can't see much. I think the motor is probably broken, or at least a gear on it, because the motor spins and it'll hold the glass in place, but it doesn't want to push it up. So there's no power getting from the motor to the leverage assembly. But this is what the troubleshooting we're going to do is just try to see if we can make it go up and down. Alright, so I went ahead and played around with it a little bit, and the motor would go up and it would go down probably about halfway, maybe even just a quarter or a third of the way, but it wouldn't go down all the way to where it should be. The motor would just spin and nothing would happen, so I am going to go ahead and try to pull it out. It should be a little difficult to get it, but not too bad. So like I said before, we're going to go ahead and undo these two, undo these three, and the entire motor assembly will fall down and you'll actually be able to collapse it. You should be able to kind of squish it closed. What we do want to do, this is the motor power right here. We'll just go ahead and undo that and feed it back up through there. And then I believe we should shift it forward if I'm correct, and then kind of take it out this hole backwards and out. We'll see how well it goes. There are the rails still. There's a rail point here and a rail point there that connect to the rail. We might have to undo that to kind of get the rail to move out of the way. We'll go ahead and play it by ear, see how it works, but I'm going to go ahead and try to remove this motor assembly now. Alright, so if you can see, I got the motor assembly out here. I was a little incorrect. You actually shift it back towards the back of the door this way. So you're going to go ahead and collapse this thing as much as you can. Kind of just bring it down like that. Let me go ahead and grab it for you guys. You're going to put this behind the guide rail back there, and you're going to shove it all the way back that way. And then what I did is I lifted it just slightly, so I got the bottom of like this arm and the bottom of the motor up over the lip, and then pushed it forward and just kind of pulled it, and I was able to get out. There's a tiny little bit of force, but there is some flex in these pieces, so it's not too big of a deal. But it really shouldn't be too hard to get it out. Just take your time and you should be able to get it. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to go ahead and plug this back in again right here, and see where I'm going to spin this outside of the car now that it's not mounted in there. It should activate this the full length of the revolution. If it doesn't, that means either the gear is broken or the motor is broken, but the motor is spinning, so I don't think it's the motor. I believe it's this part, which I believe is called the regulator. So if it is that part, we'll go ahead and take it apart and see if we can see anything. Looks like it's just these 3 Phillips head screws right here, but let me go ahead, I'm going to plug it in and we're going to see what happens. Alright guys, well what I went ahead and did is I took this apart. It's just these 3 Phillips heads. You do want to be careful, there is spring tension on this, so when you take the motor out, the motor is holding like this arm to this plate that the motor is mounted to, so you do want to be careful so you don't accidentally stick your hand through here and get it cut in half or something. It's not too strong of a spring to probably do that, but it will probably hurt you, so you just want to be careful about that. Anyways, I took it apart, I cleaned it, I went ahead and ran the motor just by itself, and it was doing good. So I went ahead, cleaned it, put it back together, and I put some of this white lithium grease on it, and it still is doing the same thing. So for me, that tells me that it's just the motor, because the motor, it pretends like it's spinning, but it actually isn't driving anything. So there's probably an internal gear or something that's stripped in there. So I'm going to go ahead and source a new one, or a used one. I believe Rock Auto has them. They're a little bit pricey, so I might get a good used one, just for the time being. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and put everything back together. It's pretty much the reverse of how we took it apart. I am going to go ahead and lube up these rails just because I don't want to mess up the mounts on the mirror at all, or sorry, the glass at all, because those are old and they do not like to work very well. But I'm going to go ahead and put it back together, and I can at the moment just like pull the glass up while the motor is going. So I'll do that. It'll get all the way to the top, so I'll have a good nice seal for the time. And then whenever I get that new motor, I'll just go ahead and take everything back out again, replace the motor, and put it all back in, and it should work. That is the hope, at least. I hope that this was good for you guys. I hope it was informative on what you needed to do. So drop a comment down below if you have any questions about what I did, or if you have any questions about what's going on in here and that I didn't cover today. I will definitely try to go ahead and get that answered for you. I try to be pretty responsive, but sometimes I would rather sleep than stay up at 2 a.m. And answer questions. But there you go, guys. I hope that this is good for you. I hope you like that. And I will see you guys later.